Tertiarick. The name Tertiarick most likely comes from a combination of the words tertiary and rick. Clever, concise, and easily readable, but with a true profoundness like any other, much like his Bloxcard's arts. Arts which are surprisingly hated across the community. Tertiarick is a hidden gem that has been relentlessly bullied by the likes of Flufflefunds, Arceus Dawn, and the rest of the community for far too long. He does not deserve any of the kind of hate and vitriol he receives, and I'll be proving why in this video. Let's open with this art, Snowskateer. It replaced this old, frankly disgusting art with an objectively superior version. Witness in awe the phenomenal posing, the depth of the background. I really truly believe this is a work of near perfection. It actually feels like Snowskateer is there with me in real life. If you showed this to a person who didn't know it was a flat image, they wouldn't be able to distinguish it from reality. It's just that good. But it gets better. Only uphill from here is the next art on our very long list of creations by Rick. Kellar 1234567. Kellar 1234567 is one of my favorites for the sole reason it reminds me heavily of my childhood. Something I hold dear to my heart. The background resembles the portal to the other world from Coraline, a movie that I've seen over 1 times. Kellar 1234567 is holding a football, readying it, but not throwing it. He looks into the distance with a grin, perhaps implying there's a figure that he's about to pass the ball to, beyond our field of vision. Our close-mindedness prevents us from seeing the true nature of the world. His 1,000-yard stare combined with the strong, confident pose leads me to believe that he's winning at the game. Not to get too crazy with the theory crafting, but I think Kellar 1234567's true life force is actually contained within this football, with the body being only a puppet. Implying the reason that he's throwing it is because he's going to die if it gets sucked into the portal behind him. I could keep rambling about Kellar 1234567, but we all only have about 29,220 days to live, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. Tertiarick is honestly a gift. Can't you see the depth here? This is exciting stuff. Kellar 1234567 is only the tip of the iceberg. Now onto the next card, Youngtan. This one has a certain energy I can't exactly put my finger on. Youngtan appears to be standing in a yellow void, with 2 swords in his hands. Now, despite being a colorless card, he's in front of a yellow background. Why could that be? I've spent day and night thinking about this, and only recently have I come up with a conclusive reason. Looking at Youngtan's description, it reads, 1 sword for trust, 1 sword for betrayal. As we all know, people marked by the devil at birth grow up to be left-handed. Conversely, this must mean that the sword in his left hand is the sword that was used for betrayal. But this raises the question, who did he betray? I believe that Youngtan may have been a knight at one point, using the trusted sword to protect his land. Eventually, on his path of good, he was tempted by the devil himself. You see, Youngtan loved swords. He picked up any sword he found, until he picked up the wrong one. The betrayal sword was cursed and it possessed him, which led him to kill his fellow knights. Eventually, he was caught and exiled from the colorless kingdom. Youngtan was lost on his way of the path of good. However, the yellows brought him in, despite him being colorless. This explains why he is a colorless card that looks like a yellow card. You probably didn't realize any of this until I blatantly spelled it out to you. Tertiarick is a master of storytelling, someone who can give you a clear and deep understanding of a character just from one picture alone. I'm the voice that Tertiarick lost when he was swept away by this ungrateful community we call Bloxcards. Now onto probably one of my top 5 picks for best starts in the game, StayBlue. Look at it. Look at it and tell me this is a card that can attack. You can't. This is the face of a man that simply cannot hurt you, even if he wanted to. Turn your attention toward his arm, for example. It appears to be dislocated, implying that he's physically unable to attack you instead of simply deciding not to. He appears to be lowering his guard in this wounded state, pointing and laughing at you, taunting you, just reveling in the fact that you will be eviscerated if you even try to lay a finger on him. The ongoing theory around the Tertiarick community is that StayBlue's shield actually grants him immense power, but with the downside of him losing his ability to attack directly. It is only when someone attempts to take StayBlue's life that his monstrous power is unleashed. StayBlue is a force that is not to be underestimated, and Tertiarick shows this fact in his fully realized vision. Now, it's time to compare and contrast these genius masterpieces with something much worse in every regard. Arceus Dawn versus Tertiarick. Who will win? The answer is, of course, Tertiarick. Tertiarick actually puts effort into making his art tell a story, as proven countless times in the last few minutes. On the other hand, Arceus Dawn? Well, he does no such thing. Arceus Dawn tries to make his arts look as pretty as possible, spamming lighting effects and other unneeded details. Look at this one in the resolution that is displayed in-game. If I showed this to someone who didn't know what it was supposed to be, they'd be completely stumped. Let me resize this to scale. Now you see, it is only when you look at it in 4K that you get the full picture. Real artists don't do this, and Tertiarick understands this fact, unlike Arceus Dawn. Compare this to Tertiarick's arts which can be resized to much smaller than the resolution in-game, and still retain readability. This is where Tertiarick succeeds, and Arceus Dawn fails. People who whine and complain about Tertiarick's arts not having two-dimensional backgrounds are frankly blind. Tertiarick is perfectly capable of making beautiful backgrounds that could make a person faint by looking at them. Take Hamad, for example. I've blurred it a little bit so you don't get winded by its sheer elegance. Close your eyes with me for a moment. Imagine a sign displaying some Russian characters, symbolizing unfamiliarity. Then add a grassy field, teeming with life. Finally, the subject of the matter. Imagine Kamov, standing in front of this sign, a man with a bucket on his head, brandishing a sword towards the camera. Open your eyes now. Witness your previously imagined reality unfold itself onto your eyes. Tertiarick is truly astonishing. This is but one of many creations made by a member of the same species as you. Can you believe it? You'd be right to assume he's a god, especially after seeing what I'm about to reveal to you next. Everything until now was preparing for this moment. The culmination of humanity's thousands of years of progress, millennia of overcoming the unthinkable, all lead towards this. Rad. Rad is the pinnacle of creation. I've tried to replicate it many, many times. No human can replicate the sheer energy this card has. If Fluffle or any of the other blind goofballs over at the Blocks Cards HQ even think about removing this divine perfection, I'll be quitting the game, much like Tertiarick did. Have you thought about it? Maybe Tertiarick got fed up with the fact that someone like Arceus Dawn could put in such little effort to tell a story, while Tertiarick was here showcasing his real talent on full display. Anything and nothing can top this, ever. Breaking down the intricacy of Rad would take the rest of my lifetime, and a word count longer than the Bible, so I'll keep it brief. Rad is standing in front of what appears to be a wall of magma, and from what you can glean from the three-worded description, he is, quote, molten and furious. Currently, it's believed that this means that Rad has some kind of lava-based power. This is further supported by the fact that, as stated before, he's surrounded by lava. Why isn't he burning alive? This is a question that is easily answered. Rad doesn't die. Rad cannot die. He may have but 900 health in the game, but that's only because the developers realized he'd be invincible without a finite number. Rad's true health goes up to the millions, perhaps trillions. Not to mention the pose. You thought Killar's pose was confident? Dial that up to 9,000%. Rad doesn't care about his outward appearance in the slightest. Every other character depicted in this game is insecure, with everyone striking some sort of pose for the camera, perhaps with a prop or two. But not Rad. I can practically hear him saying, "Posing? Not on my watch." No. Screw all of that. I go by my own rules. I'm Rad. God, how can a mere mortal even make this? I've racked my brain for years at this point, and I still have no clue. This is beyond human comprehension, and Tertiarick knows this. He stopped creating art for a Roblox card game because he knew his talent was being wasted. Arceus Dawn will happily take money for commissions for his trash garbage. But not Rick. Rick is above all of that. He is above all of you. I hope you learn to appreciate what Tertiarick brought to the table. We should all strive to be more like him. Tertiarick certainly is.